Good afternoon, and thank you so much for joining us for our nutritional series presented by Kindra Peterson and Kara Biber, our registered dietitians here at Ironwood Cancer and Research Centers. Our initial presentation will be presented by Kindra Peterson on Nutrition Month, Healthy Eating. Please help me in welcoming Kindra Peterson. Thank you.
Thank you, Sierra, for that introduction. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Kindra. I'm one of the dietitians here at Ironwood. I'm going to talk to you a little bit today about healthy eating. I will say that nutrition and what should I eat is probably the number one question that us dietitians here at Ironwood receive from patients. And just in general, if someone knows you're a dietitian, they all want to know what they should be eating. First of all, let me also say, Happy National Nutrition Month. The month of March is National Nutrition Month every year, and the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics comes up with their slogan or theme for each year, and this year's is Personalize Your Plate, and I'm going to talk about working that into our healthy eating today. Nutrition plays a vital role in all of our health and our overall well-being. We do know that eating a diet rich in plant foods and lean proteins can help reduce the risk of certain cancers, heart disease, diabetes, obesity, many of the chronic conditions and other ailments that we see in society. And it is estimated that at least 18% of cancer diagnoses in the US are related to body fatness, physical activity, alcohol consumption, and poor nutrition. So especially as our role here from Ironwood, just that link with what you eat, as well as your body size and your cancer diagnosis or risk of cancer, we do know there is that very strong tie. Just some information. I know not everyone watching this may be a cancer patient, cancer survivor, but just interested in healthy eating and becoming more healthy and following a more nutritious diet. We do know that nutritional diseases do impact the mortality rate. So I do have some information here from the year 2020. Unfortunately, the information I saw in writing, not pictograph out for 2020 is very similar in numbers. So I'm a visual person, so I wanted to show you the chart showing this, but you can see of the nutritional diseases, the mortality rates here. And the top causes of death, unfortunately in the United States, are diseases that do have a nutritional component to them. Heart disease, cancer, stroke, diabetes, Alzheimer's, kidney disease, liver disease, other nutritional diseases, all have a very strong component of what we eat impacting that disease. In the US, we know that 19% of young people aged 2 to 19 and 40% of adults are considered obese, and this puts them at risk for heart disease, diabetes, numerous cancers, as well as just other chronic diseases. Overweight and obesity are associated with at least 13 types of cancer, including endometrial or uterine, breast, especially breast cancer in postmenopausal women, and colorectal cancers. And these cancers make up approximately 40% of all cancer diagnoses. So you can see what you eat, how you eat, as well as other lifestyle factors, your physical activity especially, do impact your risk of cancers. We also know that people who are overweight or obese are at an increased risk of type 2 diabetes, especially compared to those at normal weight. And of US adults, 88 million, which is more than 1 in 3, have prediabetes. So they are at risk of being called a diabetic. And more than 8 in 10 or 80% of those do not even know that they have prediabetes. So moving outside just the realm of cancer, you can see that making sure you're eating well and eating healthy is very important for your overall health and wellness. A healthy diet is a diet that incorporates a variety of foods, ideally incorporating more colorful fruits and vegetables, some whole grains, lean proteins, and that includes plant-based protein sources, healthy fats. The key here is that a healthy diet is one that is plant-focused. We often hear the term plant-based. I prefer to use the term plant-focused simply because a plant-based diet, for a lot of people, they feel that that means a vegan diet, eating only fruits and vegetables, eating only plant-based foods. And yes, a vegan diet is plant-focused, and it can be a very healthy diet, but focusing on plant-based, a diet ideally where at least 2/3 of your plate is from plant-based foods. You don't need to be vegan. You can do lean animal proteins and other protein and animal sourced foods, but you do want your diet to be focused on incorporating more plant-based foods. I always like to throw in some humor. So I have this cartoon here at the pharmacy spelled with an F. Take one with a tomato and cucumber, and he's giving her a bowl of kale or some kind of green. But it's true. We do know that, let medicine be thy food and food be thy medicine. And we do know that there are a lot of compounds in our foods that have some nutrition and health benefits to them. So as I mentioned, a healthy diet is one that is plant-focused. We do know that nature gives us a treasure trove of health protectors in our foods, especially fruits, vegetables, whole grains, beans, lentils, nuts, seeds, all of those plant foods that come of the earth. They come out of the ground, they grow on the trees, in plants. Those are the foods that give us a lot of these compounds that have protectants and health benefits to them. They contain lots of edible cancer fighters, vitamins, minerals, fiber, antioxidants, phytochemicals, which are just compounds in foods that have some nutrition and health qualities to them. They also give us a lot of compounds that fight inflammation. And when we're talking about inflammation, we do know that many of our chronic diseases, many cancers, heart disease, Alzheimer's disease, arthritis, all of those have an inflammatory component to them. So if you are eating more foods that help fight that inflammation, you're essentially helping treat that disease or condition. A plant-focused diet emphasizes foods that are primarily from plants, those fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, oils from plant foods, so olive oils, avocado oils, whole grains, legumes, beans, lentils, anything again that comes of the earth. Plant-focused foods, plant foods are good sources of protein, the good, healthy, higher fiber, more complex carbohydrates, healthy fats, and again, the vitamins and minerals. A plant-focused diet is also naturally lower in calories. So someone who is trying to watch their weight or lose weight, you can fill up, you can get very full from eating a plant-focused diet because of all the fiber, because of those proteins, but you're getting a naturally lower amount of calories, feeling fuller faster, staying fuller longer, and eating naturally lower calorie foods. They're also, again, a good source of phytochemicals. And I'm actually we'll be doing a presentation here in a couple of weeks for you all about phytochemicals and those compounds in foods that have those good anti-cancer, antioxidant, anti-inflammatory properties. We'll do a whole discussion on that. Some tips for adopting more of a plant-focused diet. Again, wanting ideally at least 2/3 of your plate, if you're looking at each meal, or 2/3 of your diet as a whole, being filled up with plant-based foods, our fruits, vegetables, especially the non-starchy vegetables, whole grains and beans. Fish, poultry, meat, low-fat dairy products should cover no more than 1/3 of your plate. And you, of course, want to be including substantial amounts of one or more vegetables or fruits on your plate. Don't just let those plant-based foods be your grain products. You don't want just a plate of pasta or a loaf of bread or a lot of bread, but including more fruits and vegetables into that diet. Ideally, eating 5 or more servings per day of a variety of colorful vegetables and fruits. And that color is important because we know that many of these compounds in our foods that have health and nutrition benefits are those same compounds that give those fruits and vegetables, give that food its color. Eat more than 7 servings a day of a variety of grains, bread, cereals, pasta, rice, legumes, tubers, the potatoes, sweet potatoes, and choose minimally processed foods and limit your consumption of refined sugars. So I mentioned that this year, National Nutrition Month is personalizing your plate. So I want to talk about ways of making a plant-focused diet work for you. I think it's very important that we all understand that nutrition and diet are not a one-size-fits-all. There's not necessarily one diet that works for everybody, or one eating pattern, as I like to refer to them. What works for you may not work for others, and what works for your families and friends, especially with regards to diet as we know it and weight loss. What works for others may not work for you. So finding what does work for you and sticking to it. Finding a healthful eating pattern that works for you, taking into consideration your lifestyle, your tastes, your background, and your goals. It's easy for your friends to say, or coworkers to say, oh, I lost 30 pounds eating just avocados and quinoa and kale. But if you don't like avocados, if you don't like quinoa, if you're not going to eat kale, that's clearly not the plan that's going to work for you. So knowing what the recommendations with basing your diet on, and then incorporating foods that are going to work for you is really key and important here. Some tips for helping you personalize your plate and becoming more plant-focused. Fill half of your plate with fruits and vegetables. Choose whole grains, lean proteins, non-fat or low-fat dairy options, and limited added sugars. I'm going to talk about ways you can do each of those in a little more detail. So filling your plate with half of your plate full of fruits and vegetables. Again, incorporating a variety of colorful fruits and vegetables in your diet is essential. You don't want to just be eating green things. You don't want to just be eating red things. You don't want to just have orange, eating oranges and eating carrots, but eat a rainbow. The more variety you can get in the colors you're eating, the more beneficial nutrients you're getting in. Eat 2 to 3 servings of fruits per day and at least 4 to 5 servings of vegetables, preferably non-starchy per day. And again, aiming to get those different colors. The more color you can get, the better. And I know this is busy and wordy, but some ways to enjoy more fruits and vegetables. People tend to be one or the other. People are good fruit eaters and then not good vegetable eaters, or they'll eat their vegetables, but they don't incorporate a lot of fruit in there. So some ways that you can work on getting both in is using vegetables as toppings for pizza. And I know there's people gasping that a dietitian said to eat pizza. Pizza can be a very well-balanced, okay meal, not something you'd want to be eating every day. And certainly Chicago-style deep dish pizza loaded up with meat and cheese is not the best option, but a nice thin crust, even a whole wheat thin crust pizza with a little bit of tomato sauce on it. Tomatoes are very good for us. They're high in lycopene and other vitamins and minerals and compounds that have a lot of beneficial health properties to them. A little bit of cheese for some protein, some calcium, some vitamin D, and then loading them up with vegetables, some onions, peppers, garlic, tomatoes, technically a fruit. But adding additional vegetables to your pizza topping is a great way to get some extra vegetables in there. Making a smoothie at breakfast, throwing in, a low-fat or non-fat yogurt, some berries, a banana, maybe some nut milk, soy milk. Making a veggie wrap. They even make wraps now that are made out of vegetable and vegetable bases, spinach or tomato-based veggie wraps. grilling up some veggies, putting them in there with a nice balsamic vinaigrette can be a great little snack. Try crunching on vegetables instead of chips with your favorite dressing or dip. Grilling up some vegetable kebabs, adding lots of veggies on there. Stock your freezer with frozen vegetables. I know I've talked about these before, but oftentimes our frozen vegetables are just as, if not more nutritious than the fresh vegetables that you're buying at the grocery store in the produce department, but they last a lot longer. You can take out what you're going to be using that evening and cook it and still have it. So you're not dealing with, I bought all these veggies and they went bad before I could use them. Adding color to salads. Salads can be a great way to get lots of fruits and vegetables into your diet. And as our temperatures, especially here in Arizona, are heating up, salads are cool and crisp and crunchy. You don't heat up the kitchen making them, but you can add a lot of color to your salads by adding tomatoes, mandarin oranges, grapes, apples. You can get very creative, dicing up a pepper, some cucumbers, but you can do a lot. Gives you some color, but adds a lot of flavor, texture, variety as well. Keep cut up vegetables handy for snacks and side dishes. Making sure you're keeping colorful fruits in sight. We tend to buy a lot of fruits and vegetables. Many of us, I know I'm guilty of it. You go to the store, you buy a bunch of fruits and vegetables, and you put it down in the bottom crispers in the fridge, not to be seen for a while. So if you keep those in sight, goes that old adage, out of sight, out of mind. In sight will be in mind. You can also get saucy with fruit, making sauces for your proteins, making sauces for veggies, using some fruits on there, stuffing an omelet with lots of vegetables, sandwiching in some fruits and vegetables. You can take some lettuce leaves and make a sandwich with those. Slice up some avocado and sandwich it between some peppers with some cheese or some onions, or and using fruits and veggies in place of bread, and putting more fruits and veggies in between them. Waking up to fruit, whether you're making a smoothie, whether you're adding some fruit to some cereal, your oatmeal, granola, yogurt, cottage cheese, are some great ways to incorporate some more fruits into your diet. Making fruit your dessert. Fruit is nature's candy. It's sweet naturally. So finding some dessert, some ways to end your meal and provide you that sweetness a lot of us crave after eating, in the form of fruits. Having a nice cup of vegetable soup as a snack, or with a half sandwich or a salad for lunch, can be a great way to get some additional veggies in. Using vegetables as a topping for your baked potatoes, with some beans, some salsa, some broccoli, a little low-fat cheese on there. You can add grated or shredded, chopped vegetables to your pastas or casseroles, making some curries, or even some soups. Soups are a great way to increase your plant-based foods. You can add lots of veggies in there. You can add beans and lentils. Making salads for a main dish. It's harder in our colder months and in the wintertime to be thinking about eating a salad as a meal. But as our temperatures increase, it can be a great way to, have a salad as your main dish with a little protein on it instead of a little protein with a little bit of vegetables. Fruit on the grill. Heating fruit, baking it, grilling it is a great way to bring out the natural sugars in there and makes it a little bit sweeter. And then dips. You can always add, there's lots of dips we can make for both fruits and vegetables, to make them a little bit more exciting and more enjoyable. Choosing whole grains. You want to swap out some of those refined grains, the white rice, white bread, white pasta, for some of the whole grain foods. Brown rice, whole grain bread, whole wheat pasta, vegetable pastas even, are a great way to get more whole grains in your diet. You don't just want to switch whole grain bread and pasta, but try some of those other intact whole grains. Steel cut oats, quinoa, barley, cracked wheat, wheat berries, rye berries, millet. All of those are some good, nice, intact whole grains available to us. And those intact whole grains are going to be much higher in fiber for us, going to help you feel fuller longer, and they are higher in those nutrients that we know have some other beneficial health properties to them. Paying attention to our portions is probably one of the biggest things we can talk about when we're talking about healthy eating. The higher the portions, the more calories you're consuming. So be mindful of your portions, especially of the grains. You don't want any more than a fourth of your plate coming from those whole grains or starchy vegetables. They really should be a side to your meal and not the basis of your meal. Even when we're talking about pastas and rice dishes, you don't want the pasta and rice to be the star. It's a supporting cast. So you want to have smaller amounts of those whole grains and the starchy vegetables, and really a lot more of the vegetables, some fruits, and a smaller amount of lean animal proteins. Some plant sources that are good sources of complex carbohydrates and fiber. Again, those complex carbohydrates are the carbohydrates that take longer for our bodies to digest. If you're a diabetic, this is important because these tend to be foods that will not cause your blood sugars to go up as high or to go up as fast. For those of us that aren't diabetics, because they're digested slower, we tend to feel fuller longer after eating these. So they offer us some satiety, but they're also higher in fiber, which is beneficial for all of us. It helps with bowel regularity, helps lower your cholesterol levels. So some things we can do to get more of these complex carbohydrates and fiber in our diet: cereals made from whole grains, cornmeal, fresh, frozen, dried, and canned vegetables. If you are concerned about your sodium, doing low sodium canned vegetables. The sodium is added to canned foods a lot of times to help with the preservative. It helps keep the natural colors of the foods that are in the cans. You can take any vegetables that you buy in a can and put them in a colander and rinse them, and that will rinse off a good amount of that sodium that's been added. But nuts and seeds are also a good source of complex carbohydrates and fiber. Again, pastas made with whole grains, or even some of those vegetable pastas, we're seeing whole grain flour tortillas, and whole grains such as wheat, oats, barley, rye, corn are going to be higher in fiber and those complex carbohydrates. Choose lean proteins. Focus on getting protein from poultry, fish, beans, legumes, and lentils, and even whole soy foods. Make it a goal to eat 3 meatless meals per week. Meatless does not mean proteinless. It just means using more plant proteins in place of those animal proteins. You should be aiming for 2 to 3 servings of fish per week, and it's ideal to include the fatty fish such as salmon, sardines, herring, black cod. Those fatty fish are fish that contain more of those omega-3 and those beneficial healthy fats, those fats that we know have some beneficial properties to them. You want to limit your red meat. When we're talking about red meat, it is not just beef, but beef, pork, and lamb. The current recommendations are to limit red meat to not more than 12 ounces per week. If you're unable to avoid completely, obviously in this instance, less is more. The less red meat you're eating, the better nutrition and health-wise it is. And avoid processed meats such as bacon, sausage, and deli meat. They offer very little, if any, real nutritional value, and there's nothing in those that we can't find from other foods, but lots of things in there we'd be better off with not getting. Some plant foods that are good sources of proteins: legumes and lentils, peas, beans, kidney beans, great northern beans, pintos, black beans. Some of our nuts and seeds, quinoa falls into this category. And then foods from soy milk, tofu, tempeh, edamame, which is just soybeans. And you can see here I've tried to give you some visuals of some good sources. You can see that a half cup of quinoa, cooked quinoa, 2 ounces of tofu, 1 ounce of tempeh, a tablespoon of peanut butter, a 1/4 cup cooked black beans, a 1/4 cup of chickpeas, a 1/4 cup of kidney beans, and 1/2 ounce of almonds all have the same amount of protein, or the equivalent amount of protein in 1 ounce of meat. So you can get good amount of proteins without having to eat animal proteins. So I did bring up soy. So what about soy? Soy is a topic that there is much debate about, especially with regards to cancer patients, specifically breast cancer patients in soy. Soy products, soy itself does contain compounds called phytoestrogens. When people eat soy, though, however, it does not turn into estrogen in the body. The phytoestrogens, specifically genistein and diadzine, are structurally different and significantly weaker than the human estrogens. And those are 2 of the phytoestrogens that are found in soy foods. It's important to remember that not one food, soy included, is capable of single-handedly disrupting hormones linked to cancer growth. But there is a lot of ongoing research on soy intake and cancer risk. This research began decades ago when scientists observed lower rates of certain cancers, such as prostate and breast cancer, in Asian countries where soy foods are a regular part of their diet. Current research does continue to support the inclusion of soy foods in the diet for general cancer prevention, as well as for people who do have breast cancer. Our dietitian, Kara, will be doing a talk in a couple of weeks about fact versus fiction, nutrition and cancer myths and truths. And I know that she will also be addressing the topic of soy. When you are deciding about including soy in your diet, it's important and helpful to think about the different categories of soy products. Not all soy products are created equal. Soy foods like edamame, tofu, unsweetened soy milk. We have soy protein supplements like the protein powders or nutrition bars that are made with soy protein isolates. And then we have our soy condiments or soy byproducts, soy sauce, soybean oil. If you're looking at the ingredient label, you see soy lecithins. So there's really 3 distinct categories when we're talking about soy. When we're talking about the whole soy foods, current research does support including soy foods in the diet of cancer survivors, as well as all of us, the general population. And it does not suggest that there's any harmful effects, even for those with an estrogen receptor positive breast cancer. Research in breast cancer patients does suggest a possible benefit to overall survival with consuming moderate amounts of soy foods. And when we're talking about moderate amounts of soy foods, it's 1 to 2 servings per day of whole soy foods. So the tofu, the edamame, soy milk, preferably unsweetened. And examples of serving size for this would be a 1/2 cup of edamame, a cup of soy milk, a 1/4 cup of tofu would count as 1 of those servings per day. The bottom line is that soy foods like edamame and tofu and unsweetened soy milk can safely be included as an alternative protein source or even a dairy source in a healthy plant-focused diet. So soy protein supplements and their effects in the human body, and especially on cancer growth, is not as well understood as whole soy foods. Soy protein supplements are used to make smoothies, shakes. They can be the protein source in nutrition bars, certain prepackaged and frozen veggie burgers, or some vegetarian or vegan meat alternatives. And the research on these is much less clear as to the level of phytoestrogens in these products. Theoretically, these products could provide higher levels of phytoestrogens, especially if they're taken consistently. And that's simply because In supplement form, across the board, in supplement form, the amount of certain compounds you're getting is considered much more concentrated than you get them in their natural form. So with regards to especially breast cancer patients and estrogen receptor positive breast cancer patients, there is a lack of research to support the inclusion of soy protein supplements. But again, the recommendation with regards to whole foods is better known. Soy condiments, soy sauce, soybean oil, soy lecithins, these are all soy products. They do not contain significant levels of phytoestrogen. If you buy a bottle of soy sauce, the amount of soy in there is pretty much nil because it has been so processed. There are very little, if any, phytoestrogens left in there. So especially for breast cancer patients, estrogen receptor positive or hormone sensitive cancers, much less concern with these soy condiments. So what about soy? Bottom line, eating tofu stir fry, an edamame appetizer when you're out, having unsweetened soy milk as a replacement for dairy, this is safe for cancer survivors, especially those concerned about estrogen receptor positive cancers. Those undergoing treatment for the ER positive breast cancer might want to avoid those soy protein isolates, the powdered form, as well as soy protein enriched nutrition bars or vegetarian meat replacements, just until further data is available. Because again, we don't know with those soy compounds really the concentration of the phytoestrogens or how they do act in the human body. Some plant foods that are good sources of fat and calories. I don't have a lot of patients who are looking specifically for more fat and calories. A lot of times, especially those people trying to eat healthier or wanting to watch their weight, usually in other sense, keep it down. But it is important to make sure you're getting good sources of fat and you're getting the right amount of calories to maintain your weight at a healthy level. If you are a cancer patient who has gone through treatment and lost weight on treatment, it's important to get you back up to a healthy weight. And some ways to quickly add some calories, good sources of fat, again, the nuts and seeds, olives and olive oil, soybeans and soybean oil, some vegetable oils, safflower, sunflower, flax seeds, and avocado. Good sources, plant sources, they do give you that good healthy fat source, which does add some calories. But again, they also have a lot of those other nutrition and health compounds in them. Choose non-fat or low-fat dairy options, avoiding full-fat dairy products. When we're looking at the nutritional content of dairy products, there is no difference with the majority of the nutrients in low-fat or non-fat milk as there is in full-fat milk. Full-fat milk or whole milk is higher in fat, therefore higher in calories, but the remaining nutrients in there are the same. Consider trying dairy alternatives, soy milk, almond milk, oat milk, hemp milk, coconut, almond cashew, so many options out there. And those are truly meant to be alternatives. They're meant to replicate the beneficial nutrients in milk while leaving out some of the less desirable, less desired nutrients. Reduce your added sugar by choosing plain non-fat yogurt and adding your own fruit. I like to buy the plain non-fat unsweetened yogurt and then a bunch of frozen berries. So that way I can add the amount of fruit I want. A lot of times when we're buying fruited yogurt, especially, it's got a little bit of fruit in there and a lot of added sugar, that gelatinous-y, goopy stuff, and maybe 2 or 3 pieces of blueberries. If you're buying your own yogurt and you're buying your own berries, whether fresh or frozen, you're choosing how much fruit you're adding to them. You can also add flavors to plain yogurt without adding added sugars by adding vanilla extract, almond extract, coconut extract. By adding these extracts, you're adding flavor to them without adding any extra sugar. One of my personal favorites is some plain yogurt with almond extract stirred in and frozen blueberries. It's a great combination. Also, plain yogurt with some coconut extract with pineapple in it. It's like your own little pina colada yogurt. But you can get creative, and then you can make your yogurt any flavor. Instead of buying 5 different flavors of yogurt, you can buy a big carton of the plain yogurt and make it whatever flavor you're in the mood for. You should be choosing dairy products in moderation, sticking with 1 serving a day, and watching your portion size, especially of cheese. Cheese, when we're talking about cheese, 1 serving is 1 ounce, which is about an inch by inch square. Think of the size of a dice, essentially, and that's 1 serving. And cheese, can be very high in calories and saturated fats. So if part of your goal is weight loss or weight maintenance, be mindful of the calories that you could be getting in some of these foods. And lastly, limiting your added sugars. This is a lot easier these days because we do have new nutrition labels. Not that I want everyone to read every label of everything they buy, but if you are concerned about the amount of sugar in there, the new food labels do include the amount of sugar in there and how much of that is added sugars. Ideally looking to eat less than 25 grams of added sugar a day for women and 36 grams of added sugar a day for men. To do this, you should be avoiding sugar-sweetened beverages, ideally choosing more water or unsweetened coffee, tea, limiting your desserts to special occasions, again, trying fruit for dessert, or having some fruit when you're craving some sweets. And again, you can use the food labels now. I do want to remind you all, be mindful that if you're looking at a food product and a food label of something that is made with fruit, it's going to have some sugars. But again, you want to look at those added sugars. If you're looking at a fruit juice, ideally, you don't want any of that to be added sugars. You'd want it to be 100% juice with no added sugars. But again, understanding that there are going to be food labels you look at, and there's going to be sugars in foods that you think, oh, that's got a lot of sugar in it. But if it's made with fruits or, some of these kind bars or fruit and nut bars that we see and grab as snacks, a lot of the sugar in those is from the ingredients that are in there, and it's all naturally occurring. But again, the new food labels allow you to really be more mindful of how much added sugar you're getting. So what is a good example of a plant-focused diet? Everyone always, this is a question I hear a lot, okay, so what diet should I follow? The Mediterranean diet as a blueprint for healthy eating and a plant-focused diet is one that is the one I recommend most, and I think most people are leaning towards. We hear a lot more of Mediterranean style diet, whether you're talking to your cardiologist or your primary care physician or just a friend reading an article. We hear a lot about the Mediterranean diet these days, and it is a blueprint for healthy eating and eating more of a plant-focused diet. I have included it here, a picture of the Mediterranean pyramid. You can see it does remind us every day to be physically active, enjoying meals with others. We tend to eat less if we're eating with others because we're talking, we're communicating, we're not just sitting there putting fork to mouth. Every day, base each meal around these foods, the fruits, vegetables, whole grains, olive oil, beans, nuts, legumes, seeds, and of course using herbs and spices, many of which have good health benefits as well. Often, at least twice a week, some fish and seafood, weekly in moderate portions, poultry, eggs, cheese, and yogurt, and then less often our meats and sweets. If you are a wine drinker, the Mediterranean pyramid does say wine in moderation. And a definition with regards to alcohol intake in moderation is not more than 1 drink a day for women and 2 drinks a day for men. That is a use it or lose it. It's not cumulative. You don't get to say on Friday, I haven't drank all day, I'm going to get 5 today. It's 1 drink a day. If you are going to drink alcohol, not more than 1 drink a day. And then, of course, every day drinking lots of water. Some benefits to the Mediterranean diet. It's good for your heart. This is probably its biggest known benefit. It has been linked to decreased risk of heart disease and early death associated with heart disease and other cardiac problems. It helps boost brain health. It can help with depression and anxiety. It has been shown to help stabilize blood sugars and blood sugar control in diabetics. It's linked to reducing the risk of cancer. It promotes healthy weight management. Again, it's a diet that is focusing and full of foods that are naturally lower in calories, higher in fiber, good healthy proteins that are helping you feel fuller longer after eating, and therefore reduces your total caloric intake. It also has been shown to have benefits for postmenopausal women. It's been shown to be good for your gut and your gut health and gut microbiome. And just in general, it has been linked to longer living. You see across the Mediterranean countries, you do see lots of these blue zones, which are areas that have more people living longer. So it has been shown to help you live a longer, healthier life. Our dietitian, Kara, did a great video that is available on our website where she spoke at a lot more length with and on the Mediterranean diet. So feel free to check that out. And again, she will be doing another video here in a couple weeks talking about nutrition and cancer myths, fact versus fiction. So make sure you check in with that. So I want to thank you now for your time. So it looks like we did have a question about artificial sweeteners and specifically agave. Agave is a good option for decreasing the amount of added sugars in your diet. Any of those more natural sugars you can get, agave, honey, tend to be slightly sweeter than table sugar, so you tend to use less of them anyway, but they are a good alternative to the white crystal sugar we have. So they can be a great option for getting that sweetness you're desiring with some better health and nutrition benefits or qualities to them than white crystallized sugar. And you get the sweetness that your body craves and desires. It doesn't look like we have any other questions. So I want to thank you all for your time today. Keep an eye out for future videos and future presentations by myself, our dietitian, Kara, and other Ironwood staff.
Thank you, Kindra, for that very informative presentation. We appreciate it. For any of our patients who have further questions in regards to this presentation, please feel free to email us at wellness@ironwoodcrc.com or contact us in our supportive care services department at 480-314-6660. Thank you so much, and we look forward to the next Thursday at noon for a presentation on diet and healthy eating once again. Thank you so much. Take care.